Bismillah. Hello, my friends and my colleagues and my fans everywhere. This is Professor Dr. Tarek Ali. Today I will talk about water and the human body. It's known and it is a fact that most of the human body is water. And not only most of the human body, it's most of the body of vertebrates and animals and even plants is formed of water. So let me focus on the human body. Water forms 2/3 of the human body. It is, as we all know, it is the fluid of life. No body can be alive or living with ability to perform the metabolic functions and the in general all the physiologic functions without water. That's why 2/3 of the body weight is water. And 2/3 of this water is inside the cells, or what we call intracellular compartment. And 1/3 is present in the extracellular compartment. Overall, about 42 liters of water is present in the average human body. 42 liters of water is in the human body, of which 28 liters is present inside the cells. And this is what we call the intracellular compartment or the intracellular water compartment. It is 28 liters on the average. And 14 liters is present extracellular, and this is what we call the extracellular fluid compartment or the extracellular water compartment. Out of this extracellular, which is the, as I mentioned, the 14 liters, 2/3 is present in the inside the blood vessels, and this is what we call intravascular fluid compartment. And 1/3 is present in the interstitial compartment, and this is what we call the interstitial fluid compartment. Interstitial means that compartment which is present between the cells. The intravascular compartment is the blood. The blood. Blood volume is 5 liters. Of which 55% or 58% is formed of plasma. And this plasma, 90% of it is water, again. And the rest is other constituents. That is the blood cells and the plasma proteins and ions and nutrients. So this is in the blood. So the plasma volume constitutes about 55 to 58% of the blood volume, and most of the plasma is water, as I mentioned. So the total amount of fluid inside the blood vessels, it is in the plasma. But the intravascular compartment does not only mean the plasma, or it does not only consist of the plasma, but also what we call the lymph. The lymph, which is a lymphatic fluid present in the lymphatic vessels. And then we have the interstitial fluid, which is the fluid present between the cells. We have another third compartment of extracellular fluid. Third compartment, which is a very small compartment of extracellular fluid, in addition to the intravascular or the plasma and the interstitial fluid. This part is the third part of extracellular. We call it transcellular fluid. Transcellular fluid. What's transcellular fluid? It is that part of the extracellular water which is contained within the epithelial lined spaces. It is that part of extracellular fluid which is contained within the epithelial lined spaces, and it is that part of fluid which is generated by special or specialized secretory cells forming the cerebrospinal fluid and forming the gastrointestinal secretions and the bile and the glandular secretions, including the sweat glands and the lacrimal glands in the eyes, and the respiratory secretions and the synovial fluid in the joints. All of these types of fluid, which is contained within the epithelial line, the spaces which I mentioned, they form the transcellular fluid. So in short, the transcellular fluid forms that part which is the smallest part of the extra fluid related to the gastrointestinal secretions and respiratory secretions, the synovial fluid and the glandular secretion and cerebrospinal fluid, which is contained within the epithelial line, the spaces within the body. This part of the transcellular fluid forms about 1% of the body weight, or 2% of the total body water, or 2.5% of the all the extracellular fluid. So the extracellular fluid is 3 compartments: intravascular, interstitial, and transcellular. And we have the intracellular compartment, which is the majority and which forms most of the total body water, and that it is that part of water which is present inside the cells, to be differentiated from the extracellular, which is outside the cells and which is divided into the intravascular, the plasma, the interstitial, and the transcellular fluid compartments. So this is the classification or the division of the body water compartments and the distribution of water inside the body. It's very important to notice that the water, its importance lies in the fact that it is the most important substance on which metabolism depends, or all the metabolic functions of the body depend on the presence of water. If there is no water, intracellular or extracellular, metabolism stops. The physiology stops. The most important functions of water is that it regulates body temperature, and this is very important. You cannot set the body temperature under normal physiologic range without body water. If there is no water, if the person is dehydrated, so the body temperature will be dysregulated. So regulation of body temperature is the most important function of water. Is number one. Number two, water moisturizes the different tissues and organs. As we all know, the presence of saliva is important for moisturization of the mouth, to moisture the mouth, and the presence of tears to moisturize the eyes, and even the presence of secretions in the vagina to moisturize the vagina and for sexual intercourse, etc. And also the water in the respiratory secretions, in order that the normal immune mechanisms and the movement of the ciliary lining, the respiratory mucosa, will be normal. So the water is important for the local metabolic functions of the and moisturization and local metabolism and local immunity to be kept normal in the respiratory system and in the gastrointestinal tract and in the genital tract also. So it's the presence of water for moisturization very important, so that if these tissues, the respiratory tract or the gastrointestinal tract or the eyes or the mouth or the vagina get dry, there will be disordered functions of these organs or tissues. So moisturization is one of, to moisturize and to keep it wet is an important function of the water in the tissues and the organs. Number three, it also helps to protect the different organs and tissues, and this is very important, especially the fluid layer surrounding the lungs in the pleural space, surrounding the heart in the pericardial space, surrounding the different solid organs. And number 4, also water carries different nutrients and oxygen to the cells for performance of the different cellular functions. So water carries nutrients and the oxygen to the cells, which help in the cellular biology and the for accomplishment of the different metabolic processes inside the cells. So this is the major functions of the water inside the body. You cannot have a healthy skin without water, and this is very important. You should have always moisturization of the skin, to moisturize the skin, to keep the skin wet. Dry skin will disturb the immunity of the skin, will increase and will enhance aging of the skin. It will enhance the infections of the skin. So keeping the skin wet by the presence of water in the skin, this is important for the normal functions of the skin. Also, having synovial fluid in the joints is very important in order to keep malleability and the mobility of the joints, and keeping the elasticity of the musculoskeletal system. Synovial fluid inside the cavity of the joints, in the synovial joints. So fluid in the joints, which is water, fluid in the skin, which is also water, including of course the sweat glands, which is exocrine glands secreting sweat. So these are part of the important functions of the water. Most of the organs and tissues of the human body contain more than 70% water. Some organs, like the blood is an organ. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. The blood is a fluid connective tissue. Most of the blood is water. It's more than 83% of blood is water. More than 80% of the kidney is water. And most of the skeletal muscles, more than 76% of the skeletal muscles is water. Adipose tissue contain 10% only of water, in contrast to the blood. And so some organs and tissues, as I mentioned, the blood and the kidneys are mostly water. Also the brain, most of the brain, that's about more than 75% of the brain weight is water. And skeletal muscles, most of the or more than 70% of the skeletal muscles is water, and 10% of the adipose tissue is water. So water forms many of the or most of the vital organs and tissues in the body by weight. That's why water is pivotal, and its a presence inside the cells and outside the cells, and most notably in the plasma, which is the most important fluid part of the blood, which is the fluid of life, as we all know. This means that the water is the fluid of life. Water is the fluid of life. Water is in the blood. Water is inside the organs. Water is in the eyes. Water is in the brain. Water is in the skin. Water is in the joints. Water is in the different secretions of the gastrointestinal tract, which is the gut, responsible for digestion and absorption. Water is inside the respiratory tract, lining the mucosa and keeping the normal immunity and keeping the normal humidity of the respiratory mucosa for normal defense mechanisms of the respiratory tract and of the gastrointestinal tract, because these two tracts, in particular the respiratory, the upper respiratory and the gastrointestinal tract, they are in contact with the external environment through body orifices, through the nose, the respiratory system, and through the mouth, the gastrointestinal system. Same also for the vagina in women. It is in contact with the external environment. So the vaginal tract is kept wet by water. And this is important to keep the normal vaginal immunity and also for normal sexual performance. This is in short the physiology of water and the distribution of water inside the human body. Keep yourself hydrated and avoid being dehydrated under different conditions in the different seasons. Always keep attention to body, water, and for drinking. Water is essential to keep all the metabolic and physiologic normality within the body, and water therapy or drinking water is important to prevent many diseases, including constipation, regulation of blood pressure, avoiding of and prevention of heart attacks and cerebral attacks during sleep by drinking water before sleep. And also drinking water early in the morning, it keeps normal body functions throughout the day and prevents the occurrence of constipation throughout the day. And also before the meals, it will decrease the meal content and help you for weight reduction and prevention of obesity if we keep drinking water before meals. And also it helps to regulate the cardiovascular functions and the maintaining normal blood pressure under normal conditions. Thank you so much, and I will continue talking about the water overload states in another live video.